Alright, we'll see how this video goes. As you can see, what I have in my hands here is an XE RSM Motorola microphone. November, Tango November 8203A. Made in Mexico, imagine that. I've had a little bit of issues with his HT that he's using this on. The HT specifically designed for this microphone, or vice versa. Not sure what those issues were, or if they were microphone related, or if they were socket related. No way to know that just at this particular instant. What we're going to do is take this apart and see what it's made of, because it's cool. Very cool. All right. Now, one of the things you might take into consideration when you decide to start learning how to work on anything, tools. I mean, you can start with virtually nothing, like I did back in, let me see, 67. I think somewhere around 1965, 6, and 7 is where I started twiddling around with this stuff. Didn't have these kind of tools, and didn't even have the need for these kind of tools, because these kind of things, well, let's just say equipment didn't come with a vast array of different kind of screw heads and stuff. This here looks like star heads. So we'll start with this box. Try not to drop it all over the floor. I'm using a new microphone now for videos. I love this microphone. Doesn't matter, I can walk all the way to the other end of the garage and talk, and you will never know that I walked away from the phone, which I'm using to record with. This takes a T10, which is pretty common on things like this. So we'll carefully remove these, and looks like these bolts are stainless steel. You would expect that from a microphone that costs enough money to feed yourself for a month. If you think about it that way, it's really why would you do that? Well, the guy that owns us would do it if the mic was $10,000. Sorry, Ken. Only kidding. Anyway, never have I taken one of these apart before, so obviously you can never be 100% certain exactly how some of these things manifest themselves in the teardown. But this one has a lot of different reasons to be complicated. Because one, Motorola loves complicated things. Just guessing by the way they've designed things. It's almost like the design engineers sit down with each other and say, how incredibly complicated can we make this? And they proceed to do so, and they're good at it. I don't know. This screw is not backing out, so I don't know if it's a screw or a directional device.
WQVG 601, WRPC 915.
Oops, sorry, I accidentally turned off the camera when I went to answer the phone. I figured out how to get this screw out. I just had to, what I did was I used this pliers, or this cutters, And I just gently got underneath it like this here. In other words, since teeth on this are cut at an angle, you just put a little pressure on it while you're turning it, and it helps pull it out. It might have been screwed in too hard and maybe stripped a bit. I don't know. Anyway, that allows this ring to pop off. So now we take a close look at the rest of this. Now this microphone is supposed to be pretty much waterproof. Claims that you can literally drop this thing in the water, use it out in pouring rain, and it shouldn't be an issue. At least that was a little bit that I read about it. I could find no service information on the microphone. Motorola is not giving that information out. Now, as far as getting this thing actually apart now, it appears as though the one layer is the only part that might possibly come free. With that in mind, just a little bit of help here, and that caused it to peel away a bit. I've worked on some pretty intricate microphones in the time. Some microphones that had 30, 40 wires. They were the remote microphones, mostly for citizens band radio. But this is another story. Look at all the technology in this microphone. Crazy. As you can see there, this is what's in one of these babies. It's a coated board, which makes sense. Almost everything that could be a problem is sealed. The lid for the back, cover for the back, has a very nice seal gasket on it. So everything has got that seal. This has a full flanged rubber covering on this switch. I'm pretty sure that still some moisture water can get in this no matter what you do, but this part is very well sealed. That's the part that the gasket on the back goes onto and seals. So if we're supposing that we have a switch issue with this that's causing the issue, then it would have to be this tactile switch here, if indeed that's even the problem. I don't have the radio with me, so I'm not going to be able to perform any tests based around any results that might come from this. So I'm not even sure if it is a tactile switch. The only real option you have is to replace it, essentially. I'm going to take a closer look and see. We'll pull the circuit board support screws, chassis screws, and see if it will pick up a little where we can see the tactile switch. I'll be right back. All right, I did pull the screws that support the board inside the mic. I haven't tried to lift it out yet. What I was noticing was this tactile switch does not even come through. It's this piece here that probably is glued in place or sticky back of some sort, because the actual switch is right here, and it does not go through to the inside. So the actual switch is that piece right there, and then this little ribbon cable that goes through to the back of this is what makes it possible for the connections of the switch to be transferred to the board. Yeah, this is quite the microphone. The same thing is true up here with these. This is two tactile switches, one in the up position, one in the down. Again, it's the same kind of film switch. It goes up to this button. I'm trying to see where its connection. Oh, there it is. There it is. And another ribbon cable extends from, if you can see that, from this board through here, through the inside of the case to this. We're going to call them rubber film tactile switches, and then also then a ribbon cable goes up to this switch. So all this goes through here to here to here, and then to here, contact to the board, which appears to be soldered. A really small surface mount connection. So that's where we're at there. All right. I was pretty sure I was right about this. This is the little plug-in module, plug-in connector that plugs into the board from this switch. There's any number of possibilities of bad connections. I'm not saying there is. It looks to be an extremely well designed and well manufactured device. I don't see any reason to think that there's a problem there. The only other thing I don't know, the cord and how it connects to the board. I'm guessing based on what I'm seeing here. Here's another plug-in. I'm guessing this probably plugs in as well. Fixing a cable like this is probably not something you would take on. You would order a new cord, take it apart, and plug it in. We're going to find out. Be right back. All right. I pulled all the cables off. It's no surprise that the main cable going from the mic to this connector also plugs into the board. The actual microphone and speaker plug into the board. The only thing I'm not sure about, because I can't be sure, is why those two pins seem to be sticking out. You can see it there, kinda. I'll try to point to them. These two pins on this connector, I don't know if they're supposed to be that way, or if they're pushed out accidentally. I don't know. I don't know. I can't find information anywhere about it, so we're going to take a look-see on the internet again if we can find anything about this thing. All right, just for everybody's information, when I say this is a radical microphone design, I'm not kidding. Just look at all those sealed canisters on both sides. On both sides. Now the trick is put it back together and hope it works. I'm going to take a short break first. All right, we're back at it. I'm putting the chassis screws, so to speak, back where they belong. These things are really built for pretty simple upkeep, maintenance. I know these little sockets here, they're scary, but it's just a matter of lining them up. And the best way to do that I can think of right now is just by eye and with two fingers. And it pretty much just goes right in place. Now this one's a little different because it's folded over. But even still, pretty straightforward. Alright, now we can put this little gem back in. Now, here's another thing I love about Motorola. This cord has this offset. You can only plug it in one way. Beautiful. And then you can even see with the back off exactly where you're at. You put it in there. And plug it in. And hope that it didn't push anything out that time. Alright. After I said that, hope that it didn't push those pins back out, I thought, okay, that was a mistake. I should have left this thing loose first, left it undone. That way I could have looked in there and seen if it pushed them pins back out, because they obviously must have pushed back out at the factory. So, at least I'm assuming that was done at the factory. I actually had to use a flashlight to see down in there, but looks good. Pins don't appear to be pushed out. Now I can't honestly tell you if that was the problem, but I can't imagine that those pins were supposed to be pushed out. The only way we'll know is when Ken plugs this back into his HT and proceeds to use it again. I should have had him leave that with me. In hindsight, but I'm sure he'll be more than happy to come over and pick this up and try it. I'm guessing. Alright. Now we need to put the things back on to make this thing work. A little, this one goes in here. This. There's a lot of thought went into the design of these. Even the way it inserts into the rubber. Pretty cool. This one, on the other hand, is a little different. It goes right there. Then, hopefully, well, let me move this camera over here. And we'll see if we can get this put on here without an issue. It actually goes on rather nicely. Alright. Zero back in. I will go ahead and put these screws back in first. And we'll put that thing up there so it keeps from being able to pull out. Well, all I can say is if I ever seen a mic, this one I saw was listed at like $395. Well, it's a fair bet that they had a level of technology invested in this mic that warrants that. From a technician's standpoint, I love this mic. I don't know that anything on the board would be repairable at the component level by a technician. It's pretty, there's not a lot there. Most of the modules that are mounted on that board would have to be replaced in a facility that has a wherewithal to properly do it. It's my opinion. I worked on a considerable amount of surface mount stuff, and there's just some things I'd rather not try to mess with. It's pretty obvious based on how it looks that it would be better to replace the whole board. That being said, that whole board's probably $200, maybe more, knowing that it's Motorola. Well, there we go. It's back together. And we'll have to call the man up and say, hey, we might have found the problem. We don't know until you actually put it in use. So thanks for watching. And that's the end of the XE RSM November Tango November 8203A Motorola made out of gold microphone. And that's it.